It's Morphin time!
It's Morphin time! Come on, come on, you better than that. What time is it?
It's Morphin time!
Got Karan, Ashley, Dave Philly, Steve Cardenas. Come on, guys.
I know you guys can do better than that. What time is it?
It's Morphin time!
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Better.
Hello, Corpus Christi.
Hey guys, how are you? So welcome to the Power Ranger panel for Realms Con 2017. Thank you guys for coming out, hanging out. This is a chance or opportunity for you guys to, come up with any questions you might have regarding, what happened behind the scenes or any, interesting stories or facts that you didn't know or something you want to know or you always wondered about. This is your chance to do it. So I guess we'll kind of start by introducing ourselves. Karen, you want to start?
Hi, I'm Karen Ashley. I played Aisha, the yellow Power Ranger.
I'm David Fielding and I played Zordon on the Power Ranger.
Yay! Fearless leader. And my name is Steve Cardenas. I played Rocky, the red Power Ranger, and the blue Zeo Ranger.
All right, who has a question?
If you guys don't come up with any questions, it's going to be very one-sided here. We're just going to sit here and stare at each other.
Don't all ask at once. We got one in the front.
Yeah, we got a guy right here. Go ahead.
How was it wearing the movie suits?
Terrible. No.
Yeah, the movie suits were a lot different. When you wear the spandex, it's very easy to move around and very stretchy and everything like that. But with the movie suits, there was made out of rubber, so they were probably like 25 pounds or something like that, right, Karen? They were like 25 pounds extra. And so imagine if you just put 25 pounds on immediately, instantly, trying to move around, And so it was very hard to move around in them, and they were very awkward and heavy and very, very hot.
Yeah, and on top of that, they threw a corset on mine and Amy Jo's suit. So 25 pounds and you're strapped in. It was awful, but you know what? They looked amazing. So I always said, suffer for the look,
And
they looked awesome.
And how was the ninjetti suits? Did you guys like those?
They were cool. They were actually very comfortable. It was like wearing your pajamas.
Yeah.
I think with the ninjetti, the only complaint was that they were like 1,000 pieces to them. So it was like somebody had to help us, like put our shoes on. They had to tie the strap things that went here. It was always so intricate on the movie, but we had really good people that would help us every day. Look good.
Yeah, we did. We had a team of people that would have to, if we had to go to the bathroom or something, I'd go and dress them.
Right, don't wait till the last minute, because it took me like 5 minutes to disassemble.
Don't drink water all day, just hold it as long as you can, because you're going to be in this thing for quite a while. So.
All right, we have a next question right here. What's your name?
Ruben.
And what's your question?
For Karen, how did it feel having to, give your Zeo crystal to Tanya and thus retiring you as the Yellow Ranger?
It felt good. At the time, I was ready to leave the show, so, I thought I never got to meet her until way later, and so now we're really good friends, but, I mean, it's great. She carried on the legacy really well. I thought she did a great job. I love Nakia to death. She's one of my closest friends.
All right. Who else has a question? Let's go to the back over here. All right, what's your name?
Gabriel.
What's your question?
I guess branching off the first question, how was it going from a TV show to a movie?
It was interesting because on the TV show, you guys remember back in the day, Power Rangers came on every day. So we were cranking them out. Like we literally would shoot 4 to 5 episodes every 2 weeks. And if you know the TV business, typically a TV show takes, 1 episode a week. So our work was quadrupled compared to other shows. So when we got on the movie, it was really weird because we had just come on the show and we did like 20 episodes in like 1 month, which is insane.
Yeah.
But when we got on the movie, where, we would crank out a whole day, they would go, oh, we're going to light, and you'd come back like literally 5 hours later. So you'd spend a whole month on one scene. So it was very different, very different pace.
The pace was very different, that's for sure.
Yeah, we took a lot of naps.
And it's really no comparing them, honestly, I kind of like both. I enjoyed the fast-paced stuff, but I appreciated taking the time and, because you know, now the movie, when you watch it 20 years later, it still holds up, you know, because the production value, we did like 20 takes of like every single thing, so they picked the very, very best ones, you know, so I think it helped a lot.
Yeah, and then the other thing was we actually had time to rehearse, where when we would do the TV show, like literally they would say, oh, go over there, you've got like 15, 20 minutes, we're going to shoot your fight, you know. And for me, I wasn't a martial artist. I mean, I could pick up choreography, but I really wanted to sell that kick and sell that punch. And I know these guys, like they spent weeks, months, like just working on perfecting their fight. So when we did that fight in the construction site, I mean, we really got to put our, like give them our input, and we got to go, hey, what about this? And what about that? And I know these guys, they were pulling out all these tricks out of their back pocket, like they were flipping all over the place. And it was just really cool to be able to actually practice something for a change.
Nice. So who has the next question for you? Let's go over here. I'll walk.
You're going to get your steps today.
Oh, I am. I'm working for it. All right. What's your name?
My name is Dominic.
Well, what's your question?
My question is for all of you, and if you could have one real-life Zord, what would it be?
Ooh, good.
Sword.
Oh, sword?
Well, I liked the one that I had, the Red Dragon Thunder Zord. It was pretty awesome, man.
That was my favorite as well.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But you know, I'm a little partial to that bear. You wanted to boogie with the bear. I mean, it was like, that was perfect for me. That's my personality.
Honestly, I didn't really like the ape Zord that much, you know? I didn't like going from like a red dragon to like a monkey, you know?
Well, you were a monkey's uncle. Who has the next question? All right, what's your name?
JR.
What's your question?
All right. I forget the name of the actor, but the gentleman that played the Black Ranger in the first season, why does he only have 9 fingers?
Why does he what?
Only have 9 fingers.
Right, you know what? It's funny. I don't think anybody really knows because he always tells a different story.
He tells a story.
He tells a story, but it's like a different story every time.
Yeah, well, what he's told me, when he was a kid, you know, this is all, we can all learn from this. There was a gun at his house, and he unfortunately found the gun and was playing with it, and it went off and shot his finger. So yeah, so that happened, like, I forget what age he was, but he was really, really little. Really, really young, so yeah. I know, it was funny because someone, we were somewhere a few weeks ago, and it was like a shock. They never knew it. The whole time they'd watch Power Rangers, they never realized. So we all had a good laugh.
It was the first thing I noticed because when they would do the thing where they call the Zord,
morph?
it was like, there's something missing.
Yeah.
All right, who has the next question? You want to go? What's your name?
Areli,
What's your question?
I wanted to know, you guys said that you had to do episodes constantly because it came on every day. Was it the same for the people that were only doing voice?
No, it wasn't. We would get called into the studio like every 5 or 6 weeks whenever they would have like 4 or 5 episodes into the can. Then we would do voices. So we would do voices for those episodes in one shot. So while these guys were putting in some really hard 16-hour days, you know, every week doing these things, unfortunately, we just came in and did all our stuff in like an hour and then got sent home. So, I mean, for us, we weren't on set with these guys a lot, so we felt kind of disconnected from the show. But because of the pace of how everything was put together, we would do all of our things in one little shot, while these guys were stretched out over weeks.
Yeah, and we sometimes we'd work for like 12 hours, and then we'd have to go and put another like hour and a half to 2 hours in at the voiceover studio right after, you know? We're just exhausted.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like a lot of people always go, "Oh, how was it to be on Power Rangers?" And I was like, my first thing is always, it was a lot of hard work, but it was fun. So, but yeah, like a lot of the voice actors, thank God for Comic-Cons, because we got to get to meet them and get to know them, and we've become really good friends. But up until the Comic-Con thing started happening, I had never met any of them. So
yeah. Nice. Okay, I have another person here. What's your name?
Ariel.
Ariel, and what's your question?
I wanted to know, what was your least favorite Power Rangers episode?
Least favorite Power Rangers episode? That's hard. I would say my final episode, because, and it wasn't my least favorite because I was leaving, it was my least favorite because when I had talked to the producers and we talked about me leaving the show, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do like a whole 10 episode arc, and we'll, you know, explain why Aisha's leaving, and then the next time I came to set, it was my last day. So it was like, welcome to Hollywood, and I just felt like that cheated the people who were Aisha fans, because I didn't even get to say goodbye to my cast. Like they brought me in, I did one little thing, and then I was gone. So that probably was my least favorite, because it was a lie.
Those 3 middle episodes of the Green with Evil saga, because they just sent Zordoff into the ether and he wasn't part of those, so it's like, dang it.
Were those the ones we were shooting in Australia?
No, I think this is before you guys were on the show.
Oh, okay.
This is when they introduced Tommy into the show.
All right, who has the next question? All right, cool. Let me come over here.
You guys are so cool.
What's your name?
Lori,
Again, what's your question?
other than your own, what is your favorite season and who is your favorite ranger?
Other than our season, who was our favorite ranger? Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's hard for us to hear. Like we can't hear you
Yeah.
guys at all. So I'm actually hearing you.
I'm partial to Time Force. I think Time Force is pretty cool. You know, I think it's an interesting concept, you know, with the time travel and everything. So I kind of like that one. If you know, if I could be part of an episode or another series, I'd like probably be part of that one.
But I'd have to agree with Steve. Time Force was an excellent season.
Yeah.
I haven't seen much of it. Yeah.
I like Zio, to be honest. That was like one of my favorite like seasons, you know, to work on.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't really watched. Honestly, I haven't watched a lot of Power Rangers. Like I always was like, oh, I was there, you know. But they're right. Time Force, we know them. Like we've done a lot of shows, and we've really gotten to know the cast, and they're amazing people. So I always say that because I just like them personally. They're my friends.
Yeah. Awesome. All
fun
right, who has the
party
next
with.
question? Okay, right here. All right, what's your name?
Robert, I just have a question for Steve. Did you like being the Red Ranger in the original Power Rangers or the Blue Ranger from Zeo better?
Right. I mean, people ask me that question a lot, but really what it comes down to, the character was the same. So what you're really wondering is what suit did I like better, right? I like the Red Ranger suit the best, but Zeo was my favorite season to work on, you know, because, you know, in the beginning when I first started, I had never done any acting before. I went to one audition in my whole life, and it was Power Rangers. And so they hired me because of my martial arts stuff and not my acting background. So everything was all on the job training for me. And in the beginning, you know, I didn't give my character a lot to do because they said, well, maybe the less he says, the better, you know? And so until I get a little more time to develop, you know, my craft in that sense, you know, by the time Zeo rolled around, they gave my character a lot more to do. Rocky had more of a personality, and, you know, he was more sort of his own person. It wasn't just somebody that was sharing a suit, you know? So, yeah, so Zeo was my favorite season to work on, but the Red Ranger suit is, like, obviously it's the most iconic, so it's my favorite uniform for sure.
So, we have another question right here.
What did you guys think of the new Power Rangers movie?
Hated it! No, I'm just kidding. Hated it! No, I liked it, actually. I would never say anything bad. I'm just kidding. But no, I liked it. I thought it was good. I feel like maybe they could have started the action a little bit sooner, because Power Rangers is not only about the teamwork, which they, you know, established in that movie, but it's also about kicking butt, and they waited a long time to get to that, to morphing and everything, so they should have started that a little sooner.
Other than that? Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a really good job. It was very weird to be sitting in the audience and hear the name Zordon over and over, but I mean, I thought they had a missed opportunity. You know, they could have used some of these actors as, you know, more cameos and stuff. I think they could have done more with that, but...
Maybe Ernie's assistant at the juice bar or something, you know?
When they announced Bryan Cranston as Zordon, I thought that's great. You know, they're going to treat the character with some seriousness and some weight. But after watching it, I'm like, well, I could have done that. I mean, so yeah, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I felt the same way as them. Like I thought I loved the movie as a whole, but there were some things like I kind of wanted to see the whole team go, it's Morphin time. Like I wanted to see that moment, and I wanted to see some of the iconic, you know, more sentimental things that we did. I felt like they left them off, and I get like a reboot's different, but I thought that's what the fans want. You know, for 2 years we were all over the world, and the only question we were asked, are you going to be in the new reboot movie? So I felt like they greatly missed opportunity by not getting more cameos, and even the two that they had, I felt like I wanted them to have an actual line, actual role. I didn't really like seeing them just kind of taking pictures, you know? I felt like, man, you get Tommy and Kimberly, I want to see them say something or be a part of the story in some sort of way.
Yeah,
so,
that would have been cool.
But yeah, I liked it.
Nice. All right, who has the next question? Let me see, let's come over here. Let's go at the end. We're gonna walk all the way over. Okay, what's your name?
My name's Vince.
And what's your question, bud?
What was your favorite monster to fight in your entire 2 seasons?
I'm partial to, like, you know, Goldar, Rita, Zed.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really cool monsters, and I thought they were really creative of creating a monster out of nothing. Like, it was like, oh, this phone's going to be a monster.
Yeah.
Everything
this
became a
microphone
monster.
is going to be a monster.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm partial to the Putties, Rita, Zed, because they were kind of part of the cast. Like, they were in every episode almost, and it was just really cool.
Awesome. All right, I got next question right here. What's your name? Roland. What's your question?
Where did y'all film Getting the Serengeti Powers?
The Ninjetti powers, you said? Or from the movie or the TV show?
The movie.
Oh, the movie was entirely filmed in Sydney, Australia. And we filmed the whole thing there. We were there for like 4 months, too.
6 months.
Was it?
Yeah,
Was it that long?
6 months. We were there for a long time.
Yeah, we were there for a long time.
We were supposed to be there 3 months, and then it doubled up, but...
Yeah, because they scrapped the entire movie. They had a whole different movie, and even a different Dulcia and everything. So, yeah, when they at the first of the year, like in the beginning of '95, they said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna scrap the whole entire movie, and we're gonna start from scratch, like do the whole thing over again." So.
Yeah, we got bigger sets, but that was it. Kind of was like a blessing in disguise because we got bigger sets, the whole rock monster fight, like even the ooze guys that we fought. Like before, they were a totally different creature. They were like rats, and so the ooze guys, all of a sudden, they added the whole like when you kick them, they turn to ooze. You know, all of that was added the second time around. And like he said, I don't know if you guys know this, but Mariska Hargitay from SVU was actually Dulcia. And originally, Gabrielle had auditioned for the part, and then she'd gotten sick, and so then they had to get another Dulcia. So Mariska came in, and it was kind of crazy because she had no time to train, and I guess when they tested her, it didn't give them what they wanted. So then Gabrielle ended up coming back, and but we got a lot of cool things because they kind of started over.
Yeah. Nice. All right, who else has a question? Right here. What's your name, bud?
Walter.
What's your question?
Well, number one, I want to thank y'all, number one, for leaving us a legacy that we can share with our kids.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
It means a lot. And my question is, do y'all ever get tired of always being the ranger?
I always say, like, people always say, do you get tired of traveling? Like, no, I get to travel all over the world, and I sit at a table and people come up and tell me how awesome I am. Why would you ever get tired of that?
We live great lives, man. I will say this, though. I like when we get people who come up and we actually get to know them, you know, and sometimes we'll get fans that come up and they want you to be in character almost, and I'd rather connect with you in real life. Like, I know Aisha was great, Rocky was great. I mean, Zordon was great. We had some great characters, but this moment when we're at Comic-Con, it's like so that we can actually meet you and hear about your childhood and hear about, you know, how Power Rangers affected you.
Yeah, exactly. Because like back when you guys were younger and watching the show, there was no social media, there was no internet, there was none of that stuff. There was no platform for us to be able to connect with you guys as fans. If we ever met you, you'd hide behind the like you were scared, you know? So anytime we ever met any fans, it was not really on any kind of level that we could really connect. Now that you guys are growing up and there's social media and there's a way for us to all be connected, it's a lot more fulfilling for us too as the actors, you know, to meet you guys, because there's times when people come up and say, hey, listen, you know what? Like, you got me through a really tough childhood, and I appreciate that, you know? So, for me, you know, that's nice, you know, I get it, you know? People say, you're the reason that I got into this, or you're the reason I did this, you know? Because we somehow motivated them or inspired you guys, you know? And, you know, for that reason alone, you know, that's why I like doing these shows, because, you know, I was all joking aside when I said, people come up and tell me how awesome I am. No, I'm just, you know, getting to go around and it's like, you know, I'm humbled, and, you know, that 20 some odd years later, people still want to come out and see us and meet us, man. So we thank you for that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, really.
Yeah, it's all because of you, honestly. Yeah. I mean, he hit on so many things. It's so true. Like, you know how your parents always say, stop and smell the roses, or enjoy life, take your time. I mean, we worked at such a fast pace, and it happened so fast. Like that time, it was like a blink of an eye. We were so busy. And so it's almost like life is full circle. We've come full circle, and now you guys are adults, and you can actually articulate, you know, how the show resonated with you. And it's a beautiful thing. Every weekend, even if I am tired, it's a beautiful thing to meet you and actually see you and connect with you. So we get to stop and smell the roses.
That's
so
right.
thank you. 25 years next year. It's
That's
because of
right.
you guys.
25 years. Man, that makes me feel old. I'm already 30.
Hey.
I feel you. I'm right up there.
It's like fine wine.
30.
We get better with time.
It ages very well. Okay, I have another question right here. What's your name?
William.
William, and what's your question?
What was your favorite moment when y'all was making the movie?
Yeah, that was a lot of time.
You know, for me personally, I kind of like the fact, because like we got on the show and like it was like a freight train. Like we literally shot those 20 episodes. We were working like 6 days a week. I mean, it was like we got the part and our parents FedExed our clothes.
Yeah.
Like they shipped our cars. We didn't even get to go home, say proper goodbyes.
Yeah.
It was like you're working on Monday. So for me, it was like when we got to go to Australia and actually got to be, you know, we got to rehearse and got to just kind of have these 6 months. It was like our first time really getting to know each other. And I think the best part of the movie was we actually became friends. Like it was, you know, 6 Americans and everybody else was Australian. So we were like, we kind of bonded in that, you know, us against, you know, us and them. And
yeah.
we got to spend time together. So for me, I think, yeah, it was really cool. I was fulfilling my dream doing a movie, but, you know, I actually built lifelong relationships with these people. And it's weird because when we get together, it's like we just pick up from where we left off. So that was my favorite part.
Nice. All right, who else has a question? Let me see here. Let me see. Dime. Okay. What's your name?
Omi.
Omi. And yeah, what's your question?
The order.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about that? Because I'm
Yes.
really psyched about it, especially
Yeah.
since I grew up with all of y'all, and even the new Megaforce.
Yeah.
There, so.
For those of you who don't know, we're actually doing a movie called The Order, and if you haven't checked it out, go and look at the trailer. It's at www.the-order-movie.com. And literally, I don't know how I did it, but I've convinced about 18 former Power Rangers to come and do a movie. And it's an action film, and it's dark. It's like we all get to work together, and he's right. Like it's literally from Mighty Morphin to current season. I mean, we've got cast members from all seasons kind of representing. And right now, we're working on the distribution deal. So as soon as we can get a little bit more funding and the distribution deal worked out, we'll set a date and we're going to start filming. But we're super excited to work with each other, and we've been like kids in a candy store. I mean, when we shot the proof of concept, you should have seen us. We were all running around. Just everybody, it was like the funniest thing because everybody was like, when's my fight? When's my fight? Like it was like the inner child in us came back out, and everybody was so excited to fight against each other because we're not all on the same team. It's like good guys and bad guys, but as of right now, no one knows what side they're on. So stay tuned because we'll have more news soon, and as soon as we have a lot of the particulars worked out, we'll blast it all over the internet so you guys can get an update.
There's a 360 shot in the trailer where the camera kind of spins around and you see all these guys like taking each other on. And I was sitting there watching that, thinking to myself, this is like a World Guinness Book of Records type of moment. I mean, you don't get 18 different Rangers in the same room battling one another at the same time.
Yeah.
It was a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So it's pretty awesome.
It's gonna be hot when it comes out, guys. You'll like it for sure.
Yeah, you'll definitely, and it's funny because when we were writing it and when we were casting people in places, we purposely put people, like people that you know and love, and you're like, oh, he's such a great guy. We made him a bad guy. Like it's like you're gonna see people in a totally different light. Like it's not rated G with extra cheese like Power Rangers, but it's rated E for entertainment.
That's actually be a dream come true to see every Power Ranger go up against each other, and I'm actually really excited to see that movie, so I can't wait. I have another question right here. What's your name?
Gino.
Gino, and what's your question?
My question is for both Power Rangers. Do either of you keep in contact with any of the Power Rangers from your cast that y'all were former co-workers with?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, I mean, because we do these conventions together like almost every weekend. We're never all together at the same time, but there's always one or two of us that are always. And we always stay in touch with each other. We all live in the same city.
Yeah, we were lucky.
I mean, like outside of work.
Yeah, Comic-Cons, yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah, of course.
All the time. Like, literally, the cool thing is the Comic-Con kind of brings us together, and we literally get a weekend together. Like, Steve and I were so happy when we saw each other. We were like, oh, we finally, because it had been months since we had been in a city, and we always, like, make dinner plans. We always go and grab a drink. Like, we literally will leave campus and kind of have a moment to ourselves. But, yeah, I've been texting all day. Me, Nakia, and Kat have been, like, we're on a group chat. And it's like the funniest thing. I've got the me, Nakia, and Kat group chat, and then I've got what we call the Nakara Kat group chat, which is Nakia, Aaron, Kat, and myself. And we call that, like we said, if anyone has a baby, we're going to name her Nakara Kat, because, it's all of us as one. But yeah, and then we've got this crazy group chat where it's like, literally like 20 Rangers, and we literally, like, I mean, I don't know, but it's like, it's funny because it starts off fun, but then you like start saying, hey guys, shut up, because you're making my phone die. Like, somebody's always like, I'm at a con, and you're like blowing my phone up. I can't even use my phone. But yeah, we hang out all the time. We were lucky enough to do a show, season 3, the cast we all got together and did a show in Lexington last year, which was really fun, so.
Awesome. I have another question right here.
You guys mentioned social media, how you guys use it now, but nowadays, young actors that are working on kids' show, they have all that eyes on them, especially with social media. Did you guys feel the same pressure about having to behave a certain way, considering you guys were part of a kids' show back when you were doing Power Rangers?
I think, what's funny? I always say, whoever was the casting agent, I know our casting agent, but there's been different casting agents throughout the years who've cast Power Rangers, but they did an amazing job with finding really cool people. And at their core, they're just nice people. And so I don't know that any of us felt like a pressure of being something that we aren't already. Like, everyone is already a great person, and the responsibility
I'm awesome.
Right, he's awesome.
Amazing.
He's extra awesome. But the responsibility that we carry is more so when we meet you, we want you to have a great moment. We know when you walk up to the table, you turn 7 years old again and your eyes just light up, and we want that moment to be everything that you want it to be. So that's the responsibility we carry. We don't really, we kind of live our lives and live it true, and, we're definitely human, but we have a good time with you. So I don't think any of us look at it as pressure. We just look at it as, we're so humble and so blessed to have you that we want you to have a good time when we meet you.
Yeah. And I do carry it into my social media. I keep my social media pretty neutral, because I mean, and that's fine, of course, but I feel like, it's you guys follow me because you want to see, what's going on in the con world, what's going on in my world, so I kind of give you guys a little bit of that. But yeah, I keep it pretty neutral though, of course I have my opinions about certain things in the world and stuff, but I generally try not to, put that on you guys, to force, people to kind of, go against each other sometimes, on my comment page,
I put it all on you. I'm just one of those people where I just feel like, man, now's the time to speak up. Like, my motto in life is but this is my personal motto. I don't expect anybody else to live their life the way I do, but it's like, if you don't stand for something, you end up standing for nothing. So I want to stand for something, and Aisha was spunky and she was sassy, and it's like kind of an extension of myself. So I give you a lot of stuff. But yeah, so.
Nice. I like that. I've always liked Aisha. She was always spunky. She always made my morning every time. I always liked that. I have another, yes.
Sassy girls wear yellow.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you.
Exactly. I have Jason, and he actually has a question.
Jason.
When your agent first came to you and said, I have this role I want to talk to you about, and said, you showed it was Power Rangers, how did you feel? What was your reaction to it?
My agent actually didn't tell me about it. It's funny, one of my best friends, who's also an actress, she called me and was like, you gotta go audition for this show. They have an ad in the newspaper. And it's funny because I think Power Rangers has always been kind of they're a non-union show. Newspaper, and it was literally an open call casting. So when we showed up, there was 5,000 people in line. It was like crazy. But yeah, so it was. I didn't even know. They didn't get involved until we got a contract and we needed someone to negotiate. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. But when I heard about it, it was like I was so. It's like God works in mysterious ways, but He blessed me with Steve because I knew nothing about the show. Johnny knew nothing about the show. We just talked about this the other day over drinks. I remember that moment when because we went in an audition by ourselves for the producers, and then they put us together in a group, and it was me, Johnny, and Steve, and then we went in as a group. So we actually got to see each other audition. But I remember not knowing much about the show, and Steve was like, he was like kind of the leader at that moment. He was like, guys, this is ours to lose. We got to do it. And like he gave us like a little pep talk.
I remember saying like, hey, listen, they're gonna have us read this line that says it's morphin time. When they do, put your hand behind your back like that.
And
nobody else knew what that was.
Yeah.
And then the producers were like, oh God, how did they know that?
Yeah, it was so cool because like literally in the audition, usually producers and casting agents, they're all like stone faced, like they give you no reaction. But like we were auditioning and they were like, oh, wow, oh, like they were making noises. And so I think the three of us, we knew it was our job to lose. Like if we're gonna go for it, like these guys were flipping through the air, they were like doing all kinds of stuff. It was just so cool though, because at that moment, I was like, wow, these guys are awesome. And we kind of bonded in that moment as well. But yeah, it was, I think we were the only ones that got a reaction. Like they were like, you guys did great.
Yeah, they definitely, I think that helped when we did that all in unison like that. They kind of said, oh, these guys get the concept, So.
Yeah, and when honestly, afterwards, the producer, one of the top producers came up to me and said, when you guys walked in, and he goes, I just remember you walking in first and that smile lit up the room, and he goes, you guys, it was y'all's job to lose because you guys were ready, like you attacked it, so.
Nice.
Proud of that.
Nice. So how y'all doing? Y'all staying in Corpus so far? Did y'all eat Whataburger yet?
Oh,
yeah. Well, we're all from Texas. We all grew up here. So.
Oh, did y'all really?
Yeah, I
grew
up in San Antonio, and we come to Texas probably 6-7 times a year, to for Comic-Con.
Yeah, man. I thank God for Corpus Christi and Whataburger. It's like, that's my favorite.
That's the state burger.
That is. I'm from Odessa, Texas originally, and I grew up in Dallas, so I'm a Texan. Yeah, we got cast out of Dallas.
Yeah, and he lives in Dallas as well.
I know where I'm visiting. All right, I have another question here. What's your name?
Preston.
What's your question?
Was there any behind the scenes stories that you could tell us that?
Yeah. I don't know. You mean like funny behind the scenes stuff? Oh, okay, yeah.
I want the good juicy dirt.
I'll let Karen do that one.
I don't know.
I got more stories than me. You know what I mean? I never know.
You know what? There were a million, like literally a million things that happened that were funny. We were young teenagers ourselves, so we were always acting up and doing what we weren't supposed to, especially when it was like 12 hours in, you're like starting to get delirious. But there were so many, there were, I don't know, the best person to ask is Jason Frank, because he's the one who always seemed to be, pulling pranks and cracking jokes and doing crazy things.
He was the one that did that a lot.
We were actually the well-behaved part of the cast. We had one bad kid and he was it. He did enough bad that none of us, even if we did bad, I don't think anybody realized it because he was doing better than we were.
I don't know. Maybe Jason probably don't want me to tell this story, but there was one time.
Tell it.
Tell it.
It's just crazy, So there was one time that we were all fully clothed, and he had to jump into the lake. Like we had to jump into the lake for something. So he was like fully clothed, but had to jump into the water. So right before he did, he's standing there like this, and they're about to roll camera. And he's standing there, and you see him like head back like this, and all of a sudden you just see.
What is he?
In the water anyway. So it's like, I'm like, is it really happening right now?
It's disgusting. I'm never surprised by any story I hear. But no, there was this one story. I actually was with Johnny a few weeks ago, and I forgot about a lot of the details of this story. It's like if you think of something that happened 20 years ago, I can't even remember. But
I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Like, right, exactly. And so sometimes I'll watch an episode, and I literally don't remember doing that, and it's like an out-of-body experience. It's like you're floating and you're looking at yourself do something and you can't even remember. But we were in the van. It was me, Amy. I don't know, were you there? Steve might have been there, but it was like Johnny and... Yes, we're driving through the... You weren't there, okay. So we're driving through the desert, we're going to set, and we had this driver, and she was kind of like our babysitter. I mean, she was the PA that was assigned to make sure we got to work every day. Her name was Harriet. So Harriet's driving, she's got the music bumping, and we're like talking about action movies, and like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could do this in action movie? Wouldn't it be cool if you could do that? And someone had said something about, wouldn't it be cool if someone got on the top of the roof of the van, and you know, because it had like those things, and it's like an action movie, you're going down the street. So I don't know what possessed him, but Johnny decided he was gonna crawl out the window and get on top of the roof, and so Harriet doesn't know what's going on. So she's going like 50 miles an hour, and we're in the desert, we're in the middle of nowhere. And he climbs up there, and then the next thing I know, it's like Jason Frank was sitting in the very back. He jumps over the seat and like jumps over me and Amy, and he like closed the window and wouldn't open the window, and we're screaming like we're like Johnny's gonna die. Then he starts like grabbing the steering wheel, and so Harriet's going like this, and like we're still going 50 miles an hour. She doesn't even realize that Johnny is out of the car holding on, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs. And I really was like, this dude, he's gonna die. Like, this is not even a joke. And like, everybody's screaming. We're like, you're gonna kill him. And then finally, we like start punching Jason Frank, and he finally opens the window and lets Johnny back in. And like, the whole time, Harriet didn't know. And I was like, oh my God, somebody's gonna die. Like, somebody's gone too far, someone's gonna die. Like, we're like, this is just crazy. But he got a kick out of it. Terrible behavior. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I have another question right here. What's your name?
JR.
What's your question?
This is a little bit of a two-parter. We know now that the Power Rangers came to be because of the Japanese show Super Sentai, and that they kind of had to like sync up like the footage between that show and y'all's. The first part is, did y'all ever have any problems like syncing what y'all did to like the footage that they were showing from there? And the second part would be, but did y'all ever like see, it's like, you know, this is the monster that y'all going to be fighting today that was like from the original Super Sentai, and just look at it like, how much LSD did they have to like eat to be able to come up with this nonsense?
Every time I would go into the booth, it would be like, you gotta be kidding me.
Who comes up with this?
You know, you've got a pig with arms coming out of its mouth. You've got a purse. You've got, you know, a pine octopus. I mean, you know, it was
a giant Pachinko head.
Japanese pinball machine. And there was one that was like a centipede, like football player, like in a football uniform.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know that there's somewhere on the cutting room floor, there's a, you know, in the Zordon voice, what the hell?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was, we didn't have any input on that. Usually the producers, they'd written the script, and they went through all the footage, and they went through all the stuff. And we didn't watch the show. We didn't even know much about the Japanese show. And I remember asking someone, and they're like, oh, you don't need to watch it. It's a completely different show. It's really dark. It's not what we're doing. So it's almost like they didn't want us to see it because our show was so different from it. But yeah, the producers and the writers, they got the fun job of going through and trying to figure out how to make that into something, because it was
we didn't have to
crazy. We didn't have to do any of that. But we did have that thought every single time, like, what kind of drugs are they doing over there? It's crazy.
Yeah. But you know we did see the monsters sometimes, because a lot of what they would do is after they bought up all the footage, they also bought all the old monster suits as well, and then they shipped the guys from Japan shipped them over, and then you know, we'd have our stunt team get in those suits, the monster suits. So sometimes we saw them up close.
Yeah, and that's kind of how they also made it make sense, because they would shoot some American footage just to help link it up. Because, you know, sometimes I don't know how they would connect that puzzle, but they had a lot of, like you said, the guys would put the suits on and they would do something to help bridge the gap.
Nice. Is everyone having a good time so far?
Yeah!
right, who else has a question for them? Right, wait, one more.
Did you take anything from the set home, and if you did, do you still have it with you to this day?
Did you still? Did you still? Tell the truth, Steve. He has something. I didn't steal. I should have. Like, this is how they're not my friends, really. Like, they're like my fake friends, and I tell them this all the time. They did not tell me it was steal your costume day, or steal your helmet, or steal your communicator day, because I would have been down if I'd have known we were all going to do it together. So when these guys, like, they got stuff, collectibles, that they, like, prized possessions, I got nothing, because I was honest.
Yeah, actually the show took from me. They took all my hair, so I'll never get that back.
It never grew back.
Sacrifices being made for you guys. You're welcome.
All right, who else has another question? Who has
Did
a
you
question?
steal anything? You didn't answer. You noticed Steve stayed real quiet.
Yeah, he's
what
not
do
even
you have,
saying.
Steve? Stay
What do you
quiet.
have?
Stay quiet.
Y'all want him to say what he took?
I have all kinds of stuff. But I have like the boots from the movie. You know, I have a bunch of that kind of stuff.
Steal your boot day. Nobody told me that. Freaking, yeah, they got all kinds of
Is that
stuff.
why they only have like the pink and yellow Ranger movie outfits there?
Yeah, because they stole their boots. We had several costumes, so they have them all over the world. But yeah, they did steal the boot day. Didn't hear about that.
I have another question right here.
Yeah. I hate to keep blasting out with questions, but my question was, so Jason Frank, is he the green, the white, or which Power Ranger is he? Just wondering.
Both.
He was both. He was both. Yeah, he was both. He was green first, then he was white, then he became the red one, then he was the black Dino Thunder Ranger.
So I hate to knock on Jason Frank, but yeah, give us your Jason Frank story. This is what we came to hear about.
I don't have any more, man.
Y'all got no more?
I've never actually met Jason.
Plead the fifth.
Oh, come on, tell us.
No, I mean he's just a prankster. He's a crazy guy. He kept it fun. Definitely kept it fun. Kept it interesting.
I'll ask my question. I asked this when I met Amy Jo Johnson, and I had asked her, what was y'all's WTF moment? What was y'all's what the fuck moment?
All you kids out there.
Sorry, but that's one of my questions. What was your WTF moment that y'all just were on set going, wait, what?
I think it was like our first episode, because like when we got on the show, I don't know if you remember this episode, but like we weren't Rangers yet, but were doing like a triathlon, so we had to bike, we had to swim in a dirty lake, we had to run, we had to catch a baby, we had to rollerblade, like we're running in rollerblades, I had a snake on my lap. I was like, all of this happened in the first 2 episodes we shot. Like I'm like, what the, exactly, because I was like, what did I get myself into? They're trying to kill us. Like, I think it was like initiation or something.
I don't know if you guys have seen like what they call the Lost pilot, or the original version of the pilot that they filmed. But the character the character of Zordon looks like a big green glob of Jello. It's just, it was my face in there, but they had the effect that they had done on it. He was just like this big moving mass of green, and I was like going, that is disgusting.
And they had like a different skull too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Vulcan skull. There was Bulk was there, but there was a different skull.
Right.
And they had a different Trini.
But when they finally did the official pilot, you know, you could actually see my face. I was like, okay, thanks.
There you go.
Right.
You're immortalized. Yeah. So that was definitely.
All right, who else has a question? Who has a question? You have a question? Okay, what's your name?
My name is Zay.
What's your question?
My question is, y'all transitioned pretty much, from placing the original Rangers and then y'all being replaced yourselves and then Zordon being killed off. How did y'all feel with all those transitions?
We was okay with it. I mean, the reason we were replaced was because it was our choice to leave the show when we left. So, so we don't really have any choice who our successor was going to be. So, just kind of went with it. I mean, at that point, it didn't really, it didn't matter to us, So, yeah, but I left a little early, I think. I had, I kind of, as I look back, I was like, man, I wish I would have finished out that Turbo season. and you know, just for the fans. But as I say, you know, if they ever invite me back, I'm definitely going to do a show, you know. And I even told them I'll do it for free. You know what I mean? Just to give back to the fans, you know, because I haven't been able to be back on the show since, and a lot of other people have come back for reunion episodes and stuff. So, you know, if it works out, y'all be seeing me again for sure.
So we're gonna be looking forward to that. Who else has a question? Anybody else can say? Let's say yes.
Sorry, my voice is kind of. I was curious. More acting-wise. How many mistakes did you make acting, and what was the most embarrassing and hilarious moment?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there was if you watch the Zio series, you can see all the bloopers and outtakes at the end of all the end credits. They show all the bloopers that we messed up, when we messed up that episode. So you can see a bunch of outtakes on there with all kinds of like goofy little things that happen behind the scenes and stuff. So I don't know if you guys watch Zio or not, but there's a lot of outtakes there. So.
Yeah, I think everybody messed up. It's kind of like part of the fun of it, because you would you'd be deliriously tired, or it'd be like 5 in the morning and you're like having to recite a speech. It was like always the worst time when you had to do like a long monologue or something. But for the most part, everybody was really professional and just try to, like, we wanted to get through the day. We knew we had a lot of pressure to make our day. Like, it was always like, we gotta make our day, we gotta make our day.
Yeah, it was really important, especially for the TV show, because the budget was so tight, you know?
And we knew, like, the times that we didn't make our day, it was worse. It was like, man, you know, you gotta, so, but for the most part, it was just all in fun, you know, you say the wrong word and everybody would start laughing, and then you start over.
I know, I always got the command center and the youth center, like, mixed up when I talk about, you know, I'm like, oh, maybe she's back at the youth center, and I meant to say maybe she's back at the command center, you know? I don't know why, but I just kept messing that up. Come on, man! Get your crap together!
It's easy to mess up when you're in your ADR booth too. I mean, because you have like a 2 or 3 second window to get your line in. You know, they'll count it down and there'll be a beep, 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 and then you have to say your line.
On the third one.
And on the sometimes you miss it, or you go over and they have to do it over again. So, you know, it's not as easy as just speaking into a microphone.
Yeah, and it was always weird, because like anytime we were at the park or whatever, we'd always have to ADR that as well, because there would be like planes flying over, or some kid would be crying at the park, you know, because we were in a public park. But I would always be like, why do you talk like that? Like, I would move my mouth weird, and it would be hard to like remember how to match your cadence. But it's like, it's a kind of a method to the madness. Like, it'd go beep, beep, and then on the third one, you talk. So it's like you kind of get that rhythm down.
Yeah, but the trickiest part when it comes to doing that, the voiceover stuff, is matching the guys that were in the suits and the mimic. They're doing this like, and they're all animated and stuff because you can't see a mouth move. So you know, so now I've got to try to match my line with what they came up with, you know, inside the helmet. So it's very animated. A lot of people think, oh, did you guys have a microphone in your helmet and that's how you can, I'm like, no, sometimes that wasn't even us, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to record that later.
Yeah.
All right, way back here. Let's have a question. What's your name?
Gabriel.
What's your question?
This is for David. Do you have any thoughts or expectations when you were first brought onto the show? Like, did you really know what you were getting into, I guess?
Well, I was a fan of kaiju and all that kind of stuff when I was growing up, so I was familiar with Godzilla and Ultraman and Spectreman and I don't know if you're familiar with it's Gatchaman, but here in the States it was called G-Force. So I was very familiar with that sort of thing. So once they told me the premise, it's like, oh, I know what that is. And so I think that added to the audition. When I went in, I knew I had to be this deep bass voiced leader. And I remember in the audition, the other gentleman that was auditioning against me, his voice was very high pitched, and you know, he would say things like, Power Rangers, welcome to the command center. It's like, no, that's the wrong kind of thing. So I think being familiar with it helped me get the job. So.
Nice. All right. Who else has a question? Let me see. All right, go back over there. All right, give me power walk here.
Come on, man. Get them steps.
Someone bring me a water burger. All right, what's your question?
what was your reaction when you found out that Zordon and the command center was just going to be like completely destroyed and killed and like blown up? What was your reaction to that?
You talking about in the movie?
Which time?
It
happened a couple times.
The first time, and I believe the time I remember it was the villain after like Rita and that space pirate. I can't remember her name. But it was like the second season, I believe, or not the second season. It was before the movie when it got destroyed. I think it was Zeo.
I think it was around the Zeo time, like when the Zeo crystals were coming, and then the whole place went.
You know, I can't remember that. I remember when they destroyed the command center in the movie, and I just remember looking at that set and going, it's so beautiful, and they're just going to destroy it, you know? Yeah. So I was kind of bummed about that. And it's funny though, because they destroyed the command center, we had to shoot out of order, and we had to shoot everything like at the end of the movie, first before they destroyed that command center, because they weren't going to rebuild it again, you know? But they spent something like what, like $150,000 building that command center, and back in 1994, that was a lot of money for that command center, and then they just destroyed the whole thing. It was heartbreaking, actually.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. I mean, it was as big as this room. I mean, it was like the most amazing thing. And but it was cool. I mean, it was kind of cool though, like both looks. But like you said, we shoot out of sequence, so all the pretty parts we shot, and then once it was destroyed, we shot all that. So.
Who has a question over here on this side? Anybody? Who else? Okay, let me go walk back that way. Hold on.
Oh, we got time for like one more question, guys. So this is the last one.
Last one? Okay, cool. All right, give me a minute. I'm power walking. I need a milkshake after this.
Somebody get this man a Whataburger.
Please. All right, what's your question?
During the movie, what did you guys spend your time doing in Australia? Because you said you had like a lot more time, considering that it was just like 6 months. What are your memories of Australia? Did you go hunt koalas and kangaroos and all that stuff?
Yeah, we did. I explored a lot, you know. And, you know, one thing that was fun for me is I was 20 years old at the time, but over there the drinking age is 18, so I was like, I took full advantage. I was like, I don't care if I got to be up at 5 in the morning. I'm gonna go have some fun. Yeah. So,
we had some good times. It was fun. I mean, the funny thing though, we couldn't do too many adventurous things because in our contract, like we couldn't skydive, we couldn't rollerblade on our own, we couldn't do anything, we couldn't scuba dive, and like Australia is known for scuba diving. We couldn't do any of that.
Yeah, they couldn't risk us, you know, getting injured.
They didn't want us to die. You know?
Right.
Like we fly there, they would literally separate us. There'd be 3 in one plane and 3 in another plane. They were like, in case anything happens, you know. So we were restricted, but we snuck off and did some things, and we would go to, like, we went to the zoo, and we did all the touristy stuff, and you know, but it was kind of like an adventure within an adventure because none of us had been to Australia, so we were running the streets of Sydney. Yeah, it was really fun.
I remember that New Year's Eve in Sydney, Australia. You know, sitting out on the lawn in front of the Opera House, which is a building with all that looks like those eggshells, you know. Yeah. And looking out over the harbor, and there's this giant ship in the middle of the harbor that's shooting off gigantic, one of the biggest like fireworks, you know, shows I've ever seen. And so just looking around and going, dude, I'm in Australia right now, in Sydney, in front of the Opera House, you know, this huge landmark in Darling Harbour, and this fireworks displays going off. It's like, man, 1995 is going to be a good year for sure.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was. A lot of very cool things happened to me at that time. Yeah.
And just so you know I see a lot of familiar faces, people we've met, and those of you that we haven't met, we would love to talk to you. We would love to meet you. Come back to our table. We're going straight there. And if you guys want autographs, photo ops, we got all that. But we also would just like to get to know you and get to meet you and give you our social media stuff. So come on by and don't hesitate to come by and say hi.
Cool. Thank you guys so much.
What time is it?
Morphin!
What time is it?
Morphin!
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Rock Gang.